Welcome to the Missouri Healthy Schools Podcast Live. My name is Guy Danhoff, and we are on episode 3. As tonight, we're going to be talking about strategies for implementing CSPAP in the school community. And for those of you who may not know me, I actually have been working now in my 5th year in working for Missouri Healthy Schools as part of a CDC grant for MHS Outreach and also our digital media manager. And I also happen to be the president of the Missouri Society of Health and Physical Educators, also known as MoShape. And so we've got a very special broadcast tonight as we're going to be talking about some very exciting things. And this time, what I'd like to do is bring on my first guest, and that's going to be Julie Burke. And Julie, here we go. There you are. Let's bring you up to full screen. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm good. I'm so glad you're here. You are the lead district nurse of Charleston R1 Schools, and you're also your school's wellness coordinator. And I'm going to pop up a photo, let you kind of talk about, because it wasn't that long ago, because it was actually during my spring break last March when we made a trip. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on the screen for everybody and let you talk about it as we came to go visit you.
Yes. So last year we had the pleasure of hosting the Missouri Healthy Schools team. You were part of that team. So you came down. We've been doing some great things in Charleston through the Missouri Healthy Schools grant. So it basically was kind of a tour of our facility and a look at some of the highlights that we've done and things we've accomplished in the district. So it was a lot of fun. You did a lot of great interviews, and we got to kind of show you some fun things that we've been doing and for our kids and our school. So it was a great day. It was a great day.
Well, I think what's going to be really cool today, or actually tonight, we're going to get a chance to talk about some of those things that you all have been able to do with the grant, which actually is a lot. So I'm so excited to have you on tonight. I'm also now going to bring on our next guest, and that is going to be Sheri Beeler. Sheri actually is just retired. She literally just retired. Although she's here working now, I'm not sure how the retired thing works here, but you can let our viewers know that. She's certainly been a department chair and also a professor at Missouri Southern State University. And Sheri is on actually because she is our Missouri Healthy Schools CSPAP trainer and facilitator. And she's also been a MoShape board member for many years and also a great dear friend, as I've known her for over a decade. Sheri, we're so glad you're here. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I finally get to do this with Julie.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So what I'd like to do is kind of kick things off. And we all know this notion that is that active students equals better learners. And I thought where we might start is actually, what would be helpful. And Sheri, I'll throw this to you is let's talk about the 5 components of CSPAP and what it is.
Okay. The Comprehensive School Physical Activity Program, CSPAP, is a framework to increase physical activity at the school, before school and after school, including family and student engagement, as well as faculty and staff. But the basis of it is what begins with the physical education. It all starts with physical education, then extends beyond that into the other areas of the school day, and beyond the school day. The goal is, of course, to meet the national recommendation for the 60 minutes of physical activity a day. Many think it's a week, but it's a day.
Right.
With faculty, staff, administrators, students, and then getting the healthier the community, the healthier the young children to the young adults, the healthier the community becomes, and then the healthier we all become.
So this has also been tied to SEL, correct?
Correct.
And we'll talk about that in just a few moments, but I just want everyone who's viewing to understand just the amazing overlap this also has with the WISC model. And I'll let you kind of explain that as well.
The WISC model is the whole school, whole community, whole child. And what we found is it takes a village to raise a child or to make a community. So in simple terms, so what we're looking at is taking the social emotional aspects, the intellectual aspects, the physical aspects, what we've known for years to be, and raise the whole child through the school, not just the intellectual or the cognitive aspects.
Absolutely. So what I'd like everyone to know is just recently, Missouri Healthy Schools and MoShape have partnered together. And what has happened is that we kicked this off last month at our state convention, which was at the middle of November. And Sheri, obviously you were there because you and Laura Beckman led a session together. But Laura also was there in the main general session as she was letting everyone know, and here's the 2 grants, that she has access through Missouri Healthy Schools scholarships, that she was giving away a total of $60,000. So I'll just read part of this for everyone. So basically, there have now been, in just a matter of less than a week, during that time, we've had 11 Missouri schools receive scholarships to support the Comprehensive School Physical Activity Program, otherwise known as CSPAP. And that's looking at the development, the implementation, and evaluation of activities during the upcoming 2022-23 school year. The funds have been made available through an award received by Missouri Healthy Schools from the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, otherwise known as the CDC. And Sheri, this is kind of where your expertise comes in, because there is training and technical assistance for planning and implementation that's provided in partnering with MoShape in this initiative. So I know I kind of read that for everyone, but if you could maybe, it's just say it in layman's terms, what we're offering and what we're doing.
The way it started at convention and the way it was announced was that these scholarships would be available. Then they have, the interesting thing is everything has already been determined. That deadline was the 1st of December. They had to get their administrator support, whether that was a principal, assistant principal, or superintendent. They had to form their committee and start their school health index assessment. And I know Julie's going to talk about more about that and the outcomes as we go forward. But what I would say is it's amazing that you can do something in 5 or 6 months, carry out a project, improve the learning in the school, improve the culture and the climate of the school, looking at the social emotional learning and that climate within that through physical activity, wellness projects, and making the whole school culture healthier.
Absolutely. And here it is right now, just so you see right there on the bottom of our screen. We got a comment. This is coming all the way from the state of Washington. Matt Wood, one of our great friends. And Matt said that this is all awesome. Yeah, Matt, thanks for dropping that in the comments. And I also want to say the other part of this, because one part is for CSPAP. And Sheri, we're going to go back to this for a second. I'll finish this. Okay. And then so $30,000 was given for the first part, right? That's the CSPAP. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the second part that we've been also being able to provide the funding for. So 11 Missouri schools receive scholarships also to support the social emotional learning activities during the 2022 school year. Funds are made available through, again, an award received by Missouri Healthy Schools. Again, this has been through the CDC. And again, we're also offering training and technical assistance for the planning implementation that will be provided in association with MoShape. And in that case, the training actually comes through because it's being done through the program through Shape America, which is through their Health Moves Minds program. And with the Health Moves Minds program, that's actually going to be that training that's done by our state coordinator at MoShape, which is Christy Perry, thanks, and Kyle Salvo. And so it's great that here in Missouri that we're able to provide 22 schools with over $60,000 of funding to fund these amazing initiatives. And now what I'd like to do is, Julie, let's bring you in, because it's just really exciting what's been going on in your neck of the woods. And I'm going to go ahead and bring this up now. And I was wondering if you could talk about, the starting point for your school was you began with the school health index, and talk to us a little bit about that.
Yes. So we were asked to be a part of the grant. I'm just so thankful and so glad that we were. And so how we started as a district is by going through the school health index assessment. And so there's, it takes a little bit of work, but you just learn so much. So as a district, we came together in a group and we took a little piece of different parts of our district. So Like I'm the coordinator for the group, but I'm also a school nurse. I've been in Charleston for 10 years. We brought in our school counselors, school administration, teachers, parents, cafeteria, food services. Like we had a really good, well-rounded group that really represented our district. So in the school health index, there's modules. Each module represents a certain part of your district, and it's basically an evaluation tool. So we go through all of these questions, and it's a self-assessment. So it's a good look, a good deep look into your district and really where you have high areas and low areas. And it really brought some awareness to what the needs in our district really were when it came to nutrition and, like physical education, and areas where we can make improvements. So we take that school health assessment, and basically we decide, what area we want to focus on for that school year. And then we take those grant funds and we decide on projects, and it goes from there. So in Charleston, we've done several things. I mean, we're in our last year of the grant, so we've made lots of progress. The school health index was just great. It really just opened our eyes to some things that we were really missing, and that we really need to, better for the kids, and that's what it's about. So the first thing we did was updated all of our PE equipment. So I've actually taught PE before. I did that before I was a nurse. So
wow,
I had a little bit of experience with that. Yeah. So yeah. So I know that that's an area that doesn't get a lot of love, unfortunately. Schools have to focus on curriculum and the core things. And so PE is often one of those things where funding doesn't quite make it. So we thought it was important for the PE teachers to make a wish list, and that's kind of where we started. So that updated several units for our physical education classes and our kids, and kind of brought new life back into that classroom, for our students, which was exciting. Our assessment also showed, our playground equipment, I think, had been there since the bricks were put together for the building. So it was way past time for us to update that area. So we thought that it was important to address that. And this was a perfect time, since we were addressing physical education, how important physical activity is to the students. So, based on that score, it kind of took off in a way that we couldn't have even dreamed of. I mean, we ended up replacing all of the equipment on our playground in every area of our elementary school. So, we even added musical instruments. There's like a music station. We bought side pieces of equipment. So like balls, jump ropes, all the kinds of things for the pre-K, the little ones, to play with when they're outside. So it really brought new life back into that part of our school. So we were so blessed to get that. The kids love it. You could see a change in the kids. They get excited about going outside to recess. This year we're adding painted play spaces.
Nice.
So we have a phenomenal mural artist that did some work for us inside of our cafeteria, which Guy, you got to see when you came down. And she's going to come do hopscotch and Foursquare and this ABC game. And we just have a list of things. So the kids are going to get to go out and have these painted play spaces on our concrete, which is a great addition. So there's just been a lot of things to be excited about.
Julie, one of the things that stuck out to me, you talked about the playground with the musical. I remember we were filming, and I don't know, I think it was Laura who just kind of egged me on and said, hey, why don't you go, because I'm a musician, right? Why don't you go have some fun with the kids? And I start doing some drum beat. And next thing you know, I had some little ones right next to me, and they were doing a groove, and then some other people came to some others. I mean, we had a real cool groove thing going. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
It was so interactive. And Julie, like I said, it's really remarkable. I know that we need to do a part 2 from what we did last spring, and actually kind of do a before and after now, as you've done so much more since we were there last, March. but that would just be something really cool to be able to do. And yes, the impact has been great. We do have a live question though, and Sheri, let's ask you. The question is the training only open to PE teachers?
No, because the model is based on physical education is the basis of the model and of the framework, but it includes classroom teachers because you need to have activity during the day. That's not just physical education. It's before and after school programs, which I know Julie's also going to address, but some really cool things that you can do. It could be an administrator. It could be your school nurse. It could be a counselor. It's trained to, part of it is learning about the model. The other part is learning how to implement within the day to make it easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, Sheri, we'll stay with you because I want to ask you this question. And I think this will help put things more into context. What are some of the behaviors, or as we like to term also, the social emotional results of increased physical education as well as physical activity opportunities for students?
I think that's the biggest thing. It is about physical education and physical activity, but it's about the whole school, whole community, whole child. And some of the things we talk about are, for the teacher, it's your students are going to be more on task. The human body, much less younger people, were not meant to sit for 7 and 8 hours a day.
Right.
Never get up and move. So, some of the in-class things are fidget boxes or things that go on where they have to make a decision. That's part of social emotional learning, is decision making. So one of the things is keep more students on task, improve classroom behaviors. If they're on task, you have improved behaviors. The teacher spends less time correcting, teaching personal and social responsibility, that people are responsible for themselves. And then if you're there, you have less absences. Everybody likes to hear that from the superintendent on down. And the other is students getting better grades. If they're attending, they're more on task. They're doing more of what they're supposed to do. The teaching and learning environment is much improved. And if it's improved, then student learning is improved.
Right. And with that, we know our audience loves a few things from us. And here's one of them, Sheri. I'll let you speak to this. And that is resources. And this comes straight from the CDC. So I was wondering if maybe you could share, with our audience, exactly what this is.
Right. And this model is about, or this framework is about physical activity. The social emotional climate is the SEC, which may be a new term to some people. And then social emotional learning is the cell that that they've heard us talk about tonight. And really what I just said all comes into play. The physical activity, the more active they are, the healthier they are, they're better in attendance. The social and emotional school climate improves because the classroom improves. What Julie mentioned earlier, they have fun going to recess. Now it's not, now what are we going to do? Or why are we going? So it becomes more important. With that, they get better social skills, better emotional skills. Believe it or not, it's not all about winning. So, how to be gracious and some things are just for fun. You're learning skills and developing social emotional learning skills. So getting that skill set of how to act, how to respond, and how to be responsible, but how to be gracious.
Absolutely. So, Julie, what we're going to do now, we're going to turn it back to you because I think this is, for me, one of the most exciting things is we had a chance to talk over the last few days. And let's talk about, now that Sheri's kind of provided the framework, talk to us about the impact of the school physical activity initiatives that you all now are engaging in. You shared a few, but give us some more because I know there's a lot more things that your school is doing.
Right. Well, Sheri mentioned the before and after school. I mean, Guy, you've been to our school. So, we're from a small town. We're a rural area. We're, a farming community. I mean, there's not a lot of physical activity type things for our students to do outside of the school. We're huge in sports. Go Jays, #1 in the state last year. I have to throw that in there for my kids. But, we don't have a YMCA. We don't have a lot of huge parks. We have great community people that have put together after school activities. But we also did a PE club. After school. So we have about 40 members in that right now. During COVID, that affected us a little bit, of course.
Right.
We've really picked that back up this year. So that gives our students extra opportunity to be active, not only while they're in school, but after school. And that's so important because as a school nurse, I see all the chronic conditions and all of the things that hold kids back. So a healthy student is your best student. They're the ones that are going to be your best learners. If they walk in and they're not feeling well, or there's just so many factors that contribute to that. And physical activity is really a key component of the entire framework of being a really great educated kid, so it's important. So we just feel like the more things that we can give our students opportunity to do, the better students they'll be.
Absolutely. And one of the things, I'm actually going to go to a close up on this, Julie, and put you on the spot, right? This is not scripted.
Right.
But as you know, I had the opportunity to interview your principal. Mm-hmm. And you talk about someone that takes so much pride. And one of the things that just stood out to me so strongly, and I know this also gets back to that social emotional learning. It also gets back to the stability and mental health of the student. But I was wondering if you could, share with our viewers the impact of your food pantry, and not just the food part of it, because there's so much more that you do that your principal unpacked with me that I just found so fascinating, that plays exactly into what we're talking about. So I was wondering if you could share that with us.
Sure. So our food pantry came about we haven't had it for very long, but it's been such a blessing. I know a lot of schools are starting to do that. We basically started that. Miss Susan White, who's been a blessing, and some other community ladies are the ones that brought this to our attention for our district. We not only do food for families, and those are individually packed bags that go out every week, but we can provide coats for those kids that need to go outside and be more active, gloves for their hands so they don't get so cold, proper tennis shoes if a child is struggling or a family is struggling and they don't have the means to get that. Then we have, resources available for the nurses, for the families, through the district, in order to provide those things for students. So any little bit helps. It goes a long way. So for kids that don't have those things, but those are, necessary for them to be active outside, inside for PE, then we're able to do those things now, which has been great.
Absolutely. Again, I just think it's so amazing how you're just taking such a holistic approach to this. You're also involving your community, which is also another big thing. And I was wondering if you could just speak to this, because it just seemed to me that there's just so many different areas you were able to actually see social change. And I guess maybe for our viewers, Julie, maybe give us a few insights as how you were to, really get everyone, on board. Because again, when I had a chance to interview some of your committee members, for your school wellness initiatives, it blew my mind of how just cohesive and tight that group is.
Yeah, well, I think we're just a blessed community. One thing that I've learned being a school nurse is that the more people you have in your village, the stronger your village will be. And we've got a fantastic village. Our health department, our pharmacies, our physicians in town, our Bowden Center for our after schools. I mean, there's just so many things. And we've learned as we've gone along that working together provides the best opportunities for our kids. So, without all of those pieces, we're just not the same. But since we're so close, and I can reach out to that health department if I have a need for a chronic condition, or the pharmacy, it's just amazing how closely we work together and the difference that it's made by combining all of our knowledge, and each person offers something really special. And then together it just works great. So we're blessed. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. And what I want to do now is kind of shift to Sheri. And Sheri, I know that some schools that may be watching this that are wondering, are there any more scholarships available? Well, currently right now in Missouri, there's not. Of course, if there's any update, we'll let people know. But we still do offer training for CSPAP. And I was just wondering if maybe you could address the question is, how can our folks or our viewers in Missouri get the training, and what are the trainings specifically?
The trainings are interactive and engaging. It's not a sit and get. A half-day training is 3 hours, and the full day is 5 to 6 hours. You're going to actually participate, and you're going to hear a little bit and participate a lot in a variety of activities, and then a lot of sharing. What we found in all of the things that we've done is that everybody wants to share a story. They want to brainstorm. They want to know what Julie's doing, and they want to know how that came about. Or somebody else goes, hey, I heard somebody had a food pantry, or somebody had a club. Let's talk about how many of you have clubs. And so some of it is group discussion, group sharing.
Yeah.
Even within a school district, because we've also found one building doesn't, or one teacher doesn't know what goes on in another building, or sometimes within their own building, they didn't know a teacher was already doing something really cool. And so it is a sharing. It's a educational learning. You'll hear some new things and new acronyms, the big words and all those things, but it's more about engagement and interventions. How do we get you ready? How do you go? Yeah. The SHI is the school health assessment is not hard, the school health index, but it is time consuming. I thought you gave a great description, Julie.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're not going to do that there, but we may start a module to show how simple it is.
Right.
To get started. And there'll be a link here at the end where they can reach out to Missouri Healthy Schools. There it is right there, if you're interested in training. And then Laura Beckman and I would take care of getting that scheduled and getting to you. It doesn't have to be virtual. It's an in-person preferred, because you're going to be doing activities, so you need to be in the same spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to recap, again, if you're viewing this or you're watching the replay, you can actually just screenshot that link, go in. I actually checked it out myself earlier today. It's just going to ask you a few questions. Our team will get it. Someone will get back to you pretty quickly. Or even if you're watching this, on the YouTube, on MHS YouTube, it's also in the description of the video that we've also provided the link. So we've got you covered both ways. You can either screenshot it, or you can just go right to the description of the YouTube video for this specific, MHS live podcast, and you can get it that way. And Sheri, thank you so much for really letting everyone know. And I know I'm excited that, here it is. You're supposedly, quote, retired. Yeah, right. And here you are just giving, so much back, and paying it forward to really helping, again, advance the advocacy through things like, CSPAP. And I just want to just say thank you for, your willingness to do this and serve, even though I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, right?
Thank you. It's always fun. And the workshops they really are fun at the end of the day, whether you're the classroom teacher, the physical educator, the nurse, or principal coming in, administrator coming in. They're very entertaining at the least.
Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to kind of, begin to wrap up the show, but I do want to get some resources to folks, because that's a big question we get. But I want to give you one big one that we use for CSPAP. And you can go right there by Shape America. And I'm just going to go ahead and just bring this on the screen and then show it to you this way. And you can go right there to the shapeamerica.org /CSPAP. And you can see how big and comprehensive of a resource Shape America provides. And I'm just going to scroll up a little bit. We're just going to say, hey, what is CSPAP? Where do I start? What are the national programs? What about professional development, the resources, and of course, frequently asked questions. And again, if there's any other links that you need, they're all right here. So I just want to let everyone know that this is a fantastic resource for the Comprehensive School Physical Activity Program for everyone. So I wanted everyone to see that. And and I got one more resource for everybody. We have MissouriHealthySchools.com. That's ours. But the other resource that I actually want to show everyone, and I'm going to pull that up right now. Let's see if this all works right. It should, in theory, if I do this right. Let me go ahead and pull this up. And there it is. It's coming in just a second. This is actually a really cool tool that we have. And here it is right here. So if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Missouri Healthy Schools, you can see right there on the screen. If you go to our YouTube channel, just type in Missouri Healthy Schools. You can subscribe. If you subscribe and also click on the notifications, every time we are doing a monthly podcast, the past two previous ones, as you can see there, I'm just going to go full screen on this so that you can see. I'll move this out of the way and go full screen on that. You can see it. Our very first one from October was on mental health. It was actually looking at trauma-informed approaches, which included both SEL and the WISC model. Last month, we were celebrating National Diabetes Awareness Month, and we had a great discussion with Dr. Catherine Park as we talked about diabetes management. One of the things that we had a great conversation on was the mere fact that there were like 4 advanced technological advancements in how the blood glucose is now actually able to be recorded or for someone who has that to know about. And one of the things, Julia, I'll have you speak to just briefly, because this was a big thing for the nurses. And in some cases, school policy has not caught up to some of the technology of how these like glucose pumps and these different tools work. So anyways, if you want to see some of our past ones, and then of course, here's the one for certainly tonight, that's all right there. It's right there on our YouTube channel. And just be, like I said, I would go ahead and subscribe, and that way you can get the latest information on what's going on with us. So I'll go back now and bring us all back. And Julie, just really quickly, you know what I'm talking about, how there's all these different ways that glucose gets measured. And in some cases, schools have not caught up to the technology. Your thoughts?
Right. I mean, I agree. The most interesting thing about being a nurse in a school environment is that you see this increase in progression of all of these chronic conditions,
right?
Diabetes, asthma. I mean, there's just so many things. We're seeing students now that have hypertension and just other illnesses that I didn't even see 10 years ago, which is why all of this CSPAP and this physical activity and education is just so important. Kids are being less active, and that's really played, I think, a big part in why we're seeing the advancement in some of these chronic conditions. So schools are definitely a little bit behind on that. School nurses are taking on really big loads now. It's not what everybody thinks. It's not just the Band-Aid, the ice pack, and a pat on the back. We wish that it was, but it's not the case anymore. We're managing medications for students, and we're doing it around the clock. We have individualized healthcare plans and trainings for staff, and so it just goes far beyond. So being physically active and students being educated at an early age on how to be healthy, how to manage their own chronic conditions, are things that they will take with them through their adulthood. And that's what's important. So, like I said, it just makes a full circle, education is important.
Absolutely. And thanks for sharing that. I know I kind of put you on the spot, but I just want everyone to know that every month we actually do a really in-depth, triangulated kind of way, like having you on, Julie, because you bring in the data, you use your the health school index, the drive decisions and the impact of that funding that you've received. And Sheri, of course, you're giving us a lot of fresh information, new information on all these schools that got these scholarships, the onboarding, but most importantly, also the training that is available even right now. And so that's pretty darn amazing. So because this is basically the holiday edition, I only think it's fitting that we give everyone a parting shot. And Sheri, we'll start with you, who supposedly is the retired one. I know that's an oxymoron, but do you have a parting shot for our audience?
Stay active, stay healthy, stay active. It like we said in the beginning, it takes a village to raise a child, and parents are the role models, teachers are the role models, and sometimes we forget that we are the role models. We're so busy teaching and doing our jobs that we forget that we have that. And the physical activity is key. It's one of the most important things they can do to stay healthy and create a healthy culture in their own life and be healthier adults. And thanks for having me.
Oh, you were awesome. No one ever know this was your first podcast, just saying. Shh, I wasn't supposed to say that, was I? And Julie, what's your parting shot? Again, a school nurse, you got to have one, right?
Yeah, I just think that, the best students are healthy students. And, my passion is with my kids. And, I have a lot of focus on chronic conditions and, kids being healthy. And I think, like Sheri said, being physically active is a huge step in that. So, kids stay active, and you'll be better off for it for sure. So stay a step ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, my parting shot, and I'm saying this more from not my role as a media guy here, but more in my role as the president of MoShape, first and foremost, I am forever grateful for the opportunity to serve the Missouri Society of Health and Physical Educators. And I'm so looking forward to this upcoming year and all the things that we're going to be able to be part of. But my word, honestly, for the year of 2023 is going to be, I know this is a big word, but it's so true. It's going to be to adapt. I think we've got to continue to adapt. We've got to continue to embrace new ideas, new ways of thinking, so we can just continue to get better. And one of those things, like we're doing here tonight, is collaborating. It is so great to have now, multiple experts on a podcast. And also just the mere fact that we're getting a chance to do this podcast that is also supported, by the CDC through Missouri Healthy Schools, and I'm just so excited that we get a chance to do this and have these open conversations. That's why they're live. Like I said, if you want to put comments in, or even if you're watching the replay, put comments in. I will go back. I will look at them. If I don't know the answers, trust me, I know how to get a hold of Julie and Sheri. They'll tell me. Okay. But no, seriously, it's just been such an amazing year. We've been so blessed, especially in the last 30 days with being, having that opportunity to give 22 schools these scholarships for something so important. And we're just so grateful and thankful that Missouri was able to kick that off at our convention here in just, literally just about, 3-4 weeks ago. And so it's such a blessing. And Julie, I can't wait to come see you again.
We can't wait to have you come back anytime.
This time the weather better be cooperating, because we want to bring the drones so that we can get a really cool shot of all that playground equipment that you have for the little ones. And yes, I might even come back and do some more drumming. You never know. So we'll just have a good old time. And, for our amazing guests, Julie Burke and Sheri Beeler, my name is Guy Danhoff, and we want to wish all of you, happy holidays during this time. And just thank you all for tuning in tonight on the MHS Podcast Live. Thank you.